Good evening, everyone, and welcome to tonight's telephone town hall hosted by the Regional Municipality of Wood Buffalo. I'm Adam Hardiman, and I'll be your moderator again this evening for our fourth telephone town hall. Thank you for joining us for an event that has seen thousands of residents listen in thus far. We will do our best to answer your question. We have our staff grouping the questions that come in and then forwarding questions that are the most asked in the community. A reminder, if you are looking for assistance or information from the Red Cross, you can always call 1-888-350-6070 or visit their Fort McMurray office in the basement of the Hardin Street building, Monday to Friday, 9 to 6, and Saturday from 9 to 5. If you are looking for environmental monitoring and testing results, including the results of Phase 2 testing released last week, this information can be found on the Government of Alberta website at alberta.ca. Before we begin, if you are on a cell phone and your call gets dropped, you can rejoin by streaming it at rmwb.ca/townhall. This time, I'd like to send things over to Mayor Melissa Blake, who will introduce tonight's participants.
Well, thank you, and good evening, everyone. I appreciate you joining us again tonight. Tonight's participants include our Wood Buffalo Recovery Committee members, Councillor Sheldon Germain and Councillor Alan Vinnie. They also, in the future, may be joined by 6 of the new public members, so it's exciting to have a new crew right there at the ready for the recovery. But in the room, people who have been holding down the fort all along, from our municipal administration and the Regional Emergency Operations Centre, henceforth known as REOC, Chris Graham, who is the Deputy Director of Emergency Management, REOC, Aaron O'Neill, Chief of Planning, REOC, Jamie Doyle, Director of Planning and Development, Amanda Hiatus, Manager of Development Integration and Research and Economic Development, and Heidi Major, Landlord and Tenant Advisory and Family Community Support Services. And of course, rounding out our docket this evening, we're delighted to be joined by a representative from the Canadian Red Cross, Melanie Stoller, the Insurance Bureau of Canada, Bill Adams and Rob Dupree. Alberta Environment and Parks, we have Paul McMahon, and with Alberta Health Services, we have David Mateer, Deborah Samek, Satinder Singh, and Chris Watkins.
Well, thank you very much, Mayor Blake, and a reminder, if you are just joining us, thank you for participating. Remember to press *3 to ask a question, and an operator will take your question. Or you can type your question into the question field online at rmwb.ca/townhall. We will do our best to get you the answers you need, so let's get right to it and take our first question. We're going to start things online tonight as our calls come in on the phone. This question is coming in from Steve. His question is, when will debris removal start in Beacon Hill? So I'm going to send this one over to our Deputy Director of Emergency Management, Chris Graham, please.
Yes, good evening, Steve. So you can actually apply for a demolition permit right now. You would just apply through the normal channels through the RMWB.
Well, thank you very much, Chris. And it will also add that debris removal is underway in those neighborhoods. The process is underway. So go to the website and assess your options through the demolition permit package that's been posted online for the last week. Work is ongoing. So thank you very much for that. We're going to stay online, and we're going to move along to a question here from Malik. Malik is saying, I'm having issues with my landlord. Who can I contact? So I'm going to send that over to Heidi Major with the Landlord and Tenant Advisory Board, please, for an answer.
Good evening, Malik. The Landlord and Tenant Advisory Board is a resource to both landlords and tenants in the community. We're here to help. We can give you advice over the phone at 780-743-7888. You can also call that number to make an appointment to come in and see us. Your volunteer board is holding an information session on Wednesday, July the 20th from 7 to 9 p.m. at the Casman Center. So please come and ask any questions that you have there in that public forum as well. Again, you can call us at 780-743-7888 for any residential tenancy issues.
Well, thank you so much, Heidi, and thank you so much, Malik, for the question. So we're going to move right along. We're going to stay online as our questions continue to come in on the phone. This one is from Mark. He's asking, why is the province holding us back from cleanup and building in Beacon Hill? So I'm going to send that one over to Jamie Doyle, our Director of Planning and Development, please.
Thanks, Adam, and thanks for the question, Mark. Residents are free to apply for demolition permits, as Chris Graham mentioned just a little bit earlier. You can do so at 309 Powder Drive, or you can actually go online and fill out our e-permitting form at www.rmwb.ca/demolition. Thanks.
Well, thank you very much, Jamie, and certainly I know there's other part of the question there, but, as we want to reiterate from those two answers, things are ongoing, the process is underway, and you can certainly go online and learn about your options or visit the Planning and Development Department up at Timberley Landing to get that process started for you and your family. So thank you very much. We are going to stay online for our fourth question, and we're going to go to James here. So his question is there financial support for business in the community at this present time, and how do I access it? So I guess about two questions, but I'm going to send that to Amanda Haydes with our Economic Development Department.
Good question. We're definitely hearing that that's the number one need within the business community is cash flow. Immediately, I would suggest that you take advantage of the program offered through Red Cross and working with the RMWB. Currently, there is $1,000 in immediate relief funding that's being provided to all small to medium qualifying businesses in Wood Buffalo. And to access that money, you need to register by calling 1-855-RMWB-BIZ. And while you're on the phone, they'll walk you through a few questions, and you'll be able to register. And if you qualify, you'll get the cash. One thing, though, to note is you need to call and register by July 30th. That's the key point. We're taking all registrations before the July 30th date. Another thing I believe you would find of use potentially is the YMM Home Show. That's being held on August 20th at McDonald Island. The show is going to offer local businesses the opportunity to showcase their services and products to residents when it comes to the rebuilding, the renovating, decorating, and landscaping of homes here in the region. And right now, we are looking for vendors. We're actively seeking local businesses to participate, and those businesses may include builders, construction and trades, building and finishing materials, and home-focused businesses. We have a booth ready, first come, first serve, and it is free of charge. It's a good resource for you to showcase what you have to offer. If you want to register for that, you can go into our Back to Business Resource Center, which is at 9816 Hardin Street, or you can go online at choosewoodbuffalo.ca. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Amanda. And we're going to go to the phones now for first questions there. Trevor, are you with us?
Hello.
Hi, how you doing?
Good. I just have a question because I'm coming back to McMurray Friday, and I just want to know where we pick up our money to go back home.
Well, thank you so much, Trevor, for the question. I think you mean, I'm hoping you mean Red Cross. So I'm going to send that one to Melanie Solar, who's with us from the Red Cross, for an answer, please.
Hi, thanks for your question. If you require assistance with travel arrangements heading back to Fort McMurray, you can book travel through the Red Cross. And upon arriving in Fort McMurray, the Future Forward Center is still open, and you can register that you have arrived home, and your re-entry financial assistance will then be issued to you. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that. We're going to go back to the phones. Aaron, are you there? Aaron, are you
Yes,
with
hello. Sorry about that. My question is regarding specs. My husband and I lost our home in Stone Creek, and I'm still not back in Fort McMurray. I won't be back until August the 7th. So specs is, to my understanding, going to be getting cleanup prior to this, like as early as this week or next. My question is if there's any issues regarding the cleanup, because we've chose to go with specs with the company that the municipality is, kind of arranged or contracted out. Who do we deal with if any issues come about? Do we deal with the municipality, or do we deal with Working Construction or the contracted company directly?
Well, thank you so much, Aaron, for your question. I'm going to send that one to Rob DePruis with Insurance Bureau of Canada, please, for a response.
Hi, Aaron, and thank you very much for your call, and I'm very sorry for the loss of your home. For any questions relating to the debris removal, this is with the local contractor, the Fort McMurray number 468 First Nations. you can be directing them over to us at the IBC at 1-844-2-ASK-IBC. And if you have specific questions relating to overall process, you can be reaching out to the project manager, which is Specs, and you can reach them by email at fortmcmurray@specs.ca.
Well, thank you so much for that, Rob. And again, Aaron, sorry to hear about your loss, and following up on Rob's answer, such good news coming out over the weekend that Specs has gone with Fort McMurray First Nation as the prime contractor for this element of the project and our cleanup. So obviously some really good news for the business community and our community as a whole. And again, Aaron, we're really sorry to hear about what happened. So we're with you 100%. We're going to go back to our online portion here. This question's from Susan, and her question is, please explain how soil and ash tests have seen such a significant improvement. What happened to the toxins? I'm going to go to Paul McMahon with Alberta Environment and Parks to take that one for us. Paul, if you're there.
Thanks, Sarah, for the question. So the ash contains the contaminants in the most concentrated form. They have now been, down on the ground, and so some of the components will degrade with time from light, others from, water and interactions with components within water. And so, those concentrations of contaminants then, what's left, will spread out into the soil and typically at much lower concentrations than within the ash. So that's the reason for the reduced, much lower concentrations and much less contaminants in the soil than in the ash. We will also be doing a phase 3 testing post-cleanup to determine what might have leached into the soil in the public spaces so that we can evaluate if there's a concern at that time.
Well, thank you so much, Paul. And we remind our residents that want to see the phase 2 soil testing, the environmental testing, please go to the Alberta government website at alberta.ca. It's right there on the front page. We're going to go back to the phones. Suhaib, are you there?
Hi, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good. I came back to Fort McMurray. I had some issues with my previous renter, so before leaving Fort McMurray, I had contacted a few places for rent. When I came back, the properties all of a sudden increased in prices. I heard that there is a freeze on the prices, but all these companies have came with different excuses. One of the companies was saying it was just a special promotion. The other company was saying it's a different floor. Now there's only certain available units, and they basically double the price. What is the Wood Buffalo doing in regards to the rental prices?
Well, thank you so much for the question. We're going to send that one to Aaron O'Neill, our Chief of Planning in the REOC, please.
Thank you for your question. During the provincial state of emergency, we did have a rent freeze in place, and any complaints during that period can be directed to Service Alberta. Currently, there is not a rent freeze in place, but what we are doing is doing an inventory of the houses in Fort McMurray to confirm what the demand is to ensure that we have supply, which will eliminate the large prices on the rent. If you do have specific questions or about specific questions, you can contact the Landlord and Tenant Advisory, and that number is 780-743-7888.
Thank you so much for that, Aaron. Just a reminder, if you're just joining us, to ask a question, press star 3 on your phone's keypad and give your question to our operators. If you're joining us online, please type your question into the question field at rmwb.ca/townhall. We're going to go back online. We have a question here from Russell. His question is, the Wood Buffalo Recovery Committee added 6 public members last week at their council meeting. How is progress going, and how do you feel about the makeup of everyone on the committee? I'm going to send that one to Wood Buffalo Recovery Committee Councillor Sheldon Germain, please.
Thank you, Russell, for your question. 3 public members were added by council last Tuesday. 6 public members were added to the 3 already, the members we already had, and they've started to do training sessions on governance and do tours of the affected area. Their goal is to have a public meeting by August 3rd after they have some information and governance structure put together. This will make sure that we meet the best practices set out by other disaster recovery efforts, and making sure that the governance structure is strong and well developed to make good decisions to serve the residents.
Well, thank you very much, Councillor Germain, and not to stay on you, but there was a second part to Russell's question. He was asking, how do you feel about the makeup of the committee, of those members, and what do you think they're going to bring to the table for the community?
Oh, great question, Russell. Diversity is the strength of a council or the strength of a committee, and good governance requires a lot of different perspectives. It is a strong and diverse committee, both with backgrounds in public sector, private sector, backgrounds, legal experience, and a multitude of different area strengths. We're lucky and blessed to have 72 residents that put their names forward, and we're just happy to have these 6 strong members selected.
Thank you very much, Councillor Germain. We're going to go back to the phones. Kevin, are you with us?
Yes, I am. How are you this evening?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. I have a couple of questions, actually. One for the Insurance Bureau of Canada. I've signed the forms for specs about 3 weeks ago, and today I received a call from specs stating that I needed to fill out another form. I'd like to know how many forms we have to fill out if we've signed on with specs, and is this going to delay me getting in the queue to have my property in Abbotsand cleaned up? The second question I wanted to ask is, when I had the discussion with specs this morning, they told me that the cleanup was starting today, and that the company that has been contracted has 30 pieces of equipment going to be dedicated to the cleanup. I don't know how a company is going to clean up these properties in 9 weeks with 30 pieces of equipment, so I'd like to find out exactly what the plans are for the cleanup, how long this is going to take, and when we can look forward to getting back in our properties and maybe pouring a foundation before the winter flies, if that's possible.
Well, Kevin, thank you so much for the question, and sorry to hear for your loss. An excellent question, kind of 2 parts to it. I'm going to send it to Rob DePruce with Insurance Bureau of Canada, please.
Hi, and thank you for the question. Again, I'm very sorry to hear about the loss of your property. In relation to the forms, an updated form was put in place to ensure that the appropriate level of authorization has been provided by the property owner to allow specs to act as agents for the owner of the demolition project. This allows specs to sign a contract with the contractor and submit for the demolition permit. Information was submitted to the insurers recently to be providing to their property owners with a breakdown of the cost for the costs in relation to single-family homes, mobile homes, and all the associated and related costs handling that. As announced late last week, the demolition contractor is Fort McMurray number 468 First Nations, and they're in partnership with Morgan Construction and Environmental. They will be starting the debris removal process this week, and they will be starting in multiple areas to make the debris removal as safe, efficient, and effective as we can be.
Well, thank you very much for that, Rob, and Kevin. Again, thank you very much for your question. We're going to go back online. This question is from Amy. Why can people in Wood Buffalo live in their standing homes or green homes, but that's not the case in Beacon Hill, Abbotsand, or Waterways? I'm going to go to Erin O'Neill, our Chief of Planning in the REOC, please, for that.
Thank you, Adam, and thank you, Amy, for your question. The Chief Medical Officer of Health did come to Fort McMurray and tour all the damaged areas. Given the age of homes, potential testing, and potential asbestos in the areas of Waterways at Beacon Hill and Abbotsand, she did deem those areas as restricted areas. also due to the amount of devastation in these areas. We are working closely with Alberta Health Services and the Chief Medical Officer of Health on her recommendations to hopefully open those restricted areas up as soon as possible.
Well, thank you very much, Aaron, and for the answer, and thank you very much for the question, Amy. We're going to go back online. This one's from Lori, and her question is, what is the turnaround time on demolition permits? I'm going to go to Jamie Doyle, our Director of Planning and Development, please.
Thank you, Adam, and thank you, Lori, for the question. Currently, we're working just about 48 hours. However, we are seeing a lot of applications that are incomplete, so that takes a bit more time. We've been having a lot of great conversations with these applicants regarding these permit requirements. As of today, we have approved 73 and we have 128 in queue. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Jamie, and we're going to go back to the phones now for our next question. Tom, are you there? Tom, are you still with us?
Are you calling me?
Yes, sir. Are you there with us, Tom?
Yes, I am. Yeah. My question was, like many other people that have lost houses, I still have a mortgage that I'm currently paying. Is anybody currently pushing the financial institutions to allow us to pay interest only for our mortgages? Or is there any plan going forward with this? Because a lot of people have large mortgages that are still paying and still have to look for some place to live.
Well, thank you very much for that, Tom. We're going to stick with the Insurance Bureau of Canada. We're going to send this one to Bill Adams, please.
Thanks very much for the question. This is an issue that we know is of concern to a lot of people in Fort McMurray and Wood Buffalo community. I would encourage you to talk to your financial institution. We do know that banks and financial institutions, mortgage holders have been made aware of this as a key issue in the community and are developing on a case-by-case basis repayment programs that will address some of the needs. So I would encourage you to, if you haven't already done so, reach out to your financial institution and pick up this conversation with them.
Well, thank you very much, Bill. And taking a look at our online questions coming in as well, a lot of our calls, we're seeing a number of questions about financial assistance. Melanie with the Red Cross, could you tell our listeners where they can get help?
Hi, thanks for that. We are, the Canadian Red Cross is able to provide financial assistance to households who are facing financial challenges as a result of being uninsured or underinsured. We do have a housing program available that will complement and extend the WEDA program by providing mortgage or rental assistance for up to 3 months. And for a confidential case assessment, please book an appointment at 1-888-553-5505, and hopefully we can provide some financial relief.
Thank you very much for that, Melanie. We're going to move back to the phones. Jody, are you there?
Yeah, I'm right here.
Great to have you with us. Go right ahead with your question.
Okay, my question's actually for the mayor. I understand that there is disaster relief or recovery programs for other areas that had disasters occur, such as the Calgary or Slave Lake. I called the number that was in the document I read, and they advised that that help has to be asked or requested from the municipalities of the federal government. Is there any plans to get that going for people that were uninsured or not insured and had losses?
You know what? I'm a little bit caught off guard with the question simply because I know that everything that we're doing right now is a draw on the disaster recovery program in Alberta. My understanding is that, in fact, after we make our expenses from the municipal recovery side of things, including that firefighting services, the overtime, et cetera, that goes through the province and then federal funding will come through there. The disaster in this case is not one like the flooding at all, where flooding generally is uninsurable in those areas. The government of Alberta did something different or special in those circumstances. Just like here with ours, what we've got is a natural forest fire that's created a lot of the loss, and people are able to draw on their insurance plans because that is something that's covered. So I think we're in a bit of a different situation than some of these other places, but I really haven't heard of something new or different that the municipality is expected to contribute to. We're spending all of our own money right now trying to recover from this, and we don't see the necessity of creating a separate account when people are intended to have the ability to draw on the incredible support through the Red Cross that people have granted us from across the country and the nation. So I'm caught off guard by the question. I'm not sure if it might be more appropriate for the province.
Well, thank you so much, Mayor Blake, and thank you for the question earlier, Jody. We're going to move right along. We're going to go to the phones. Mario, are you there?
Yeah, I'm right here. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. My question is basically about all the good news that we've heard from the environmental studies that are taken. I have a house still standing in Beacon Hill, and I'm sure like many others in Beacon Hill and Abbotsford and Waterways, we're wondering if there's any plans on letting us know what the schedule is for returning home.
Thank you so much, Mario, for the question. It's certainly something that's a top priority for REOC and the community right now, and also the municipality. I'm going to send that question to Erin O'Neill, our Chief of Planning in the REOC.
Thank you, Adam, and thank you, Mario, for your question. We are working closely with the Government of Alberta, Alberta Health Services, and the Chief Medical Officer of Health to get people back into those homes. We are working on her recommendations and working closely with those groups to hopefully get people home as soon as possible.
Well, thank you so much, Erin. We're going to go back to the phones. Ross, are you there? Ross, are you
Yes, I'm here. Thanks.
Great to have you with us.
Can you hear me?
Go right ahead with your question.
Okay, this question is for the CMO. Is the CMO...
Sorry, Ross, I think we lost you there for a second. Are you still with us?
Yes, my question is for the CMO. Is the CMO available?
No, the Chief Medical Officer is not with us on the phone this evening, but if you go ahead with your question, we have a number of great people here who are happy to get you the best answer.
Okay, well, my question is this. I'm in Abbotsford Central, untouched by fire. What are these recommendations that the previous person just spoke on that need to be met before we can go back home again? Because my house is just as good and my area is just as healthy as it was a week before the fire. So I'm wondering, what are these recommendations that nobody is speaking on, please? Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Ross. It's a great question, and we're going to send it back to Erin O'Neill, our Chief of Planning in the REOC, please.
Thank you, Adam, and thank you, Ross, for your question. The Chief Medical Officer of Health did come to Fort McMurray after the fire, and she did put recommendations in place for the restricted areas of Abbotsford, Beacon Hill, and Waterways. Her recommendations were that those areas not be inhabited until the debris has been removed. Given that the testing results have came back and we have worked with the tackifier and installed fencing, we are working closely with the Chief Medical Officer of Health, the Government of Alberta, and Alberta Health Services to see if there's a way that we can move some of those people back in home before the debris is removed. So we're working closely, and as soon as we have communications on that, we will put it out to you and hopefully get you home as soon as possible.
Well, thank you so much, Erin. We're also going to send that one to the Wood Buffalo Recovery Committee. Councillor Sheldon Germain, please.
Thanks, Ross, and thanks, Erin. I want to assure you that I've watched REOC work on developing a plan and program, and we are trying to do whatever we possibly can do to get you home safely. we are making sure that it is safe, writing up an extensive plan and program to get you back. We're hoping, we're crossing our fingers, we're working hard to apply pressure to get you home safely. It is nothing that we're doing to hold you back. All we're trying to do is get you back safely.
Well, thank you very much, Councillor Germain and Aaron, for the answer. And thank you, Ross, for the great question that's on a lot of people's minds tonight in the community. We're going to go back online. This one's from Jean-Pierre. He says, how will coordination take place between specs and local contractors? So we're going to send that one to Bill Dupree, please.
Hi, and thank you for your call. The insurer-led coordinated debris removal program that's being led by a local contractor is starting the debris removal process this week, and they will be working in multiple areas to ensure the safe, efficient, and effective debris removal of the damaged properties.
Well, thank you very much, Rob, for that wonderful answer. It's Rob Dupree with the Insurance Bureau of Canada. My mistake for getting your name wrong once again this evening. So we're doing our best over here at the municipality. We're going to move right along, and we're going to provide a reminder at this time as we're a little bit halfway through the call. Remember, if you'd like to ask a question, press star 3 on your phone's keypad and give your question to the operator. If you are joining us online, please type your question into the question field at rmwb.ca/townhall. We're going to go back to the phones. Marie, are you there?
Yes.
Great to have you with us. Go right ahead with your question.
I'm just wondering why the fridge removal program ended on June 30th when people with children were advised not to return until after June 30th. So now we have kids playing in the streets with fridges sitting out there, and it's only a matter of time before somebody climbs into one.
Well, thank you very much, Marie, for the question. We're going to go back to Aaron O'Neill, our Chief of Planning in the REOC.
Thank you, Adam, and thank you, Marie, for the question. We did have a coordinated approach with the Insurance Bureau of Canada where they were picking up the fridges for 5 weeks from June 1 till July the 7th. We are now asking residents to take those appliances directly to the landfill. They can call your insurance adjuster, and your insurance adjuster will pay for the transportation if you need that to take place, and that will be put in place, but you do have to take those to the landfill. You also there are free tipping fees for residential garbage until the end of July to have those fridges disposed of at the landfill. There is, bylaw will be going around to make sure that those fridges are not staying on the street so that we can make sure that no children get hurt or nobody gets hurt with those fridges in the area. So they will be going around and talking to the residents that still have fridges out to get those removed and taken to the landfill.
Well, thank you very much, Aaron. And certainly public safety remains our top priority as we move throughout this process. Going to go back online. This question is from Yaw. He's asking, is it reasonable of my insurance company to ask me to wait 14 to 18 months for rebuild when they are not covering loss of use or loss of alternate housing, rather? We're going to go to Rob Dupree with Insurance Bureau of Canada, please.
Hi, and thank you for the question. I'm sorry that your property is damaged and you have to go through this process. In relation to the damage to your property and the timing, there's a number of dependencies on that. I encourage you to work with your adjuster and talk about the timing. Each policy may have different wording, so I encourage you to talk to your insurance company to find out more information about how the wording in your specific policy is tailored to you and how your policy will respond. If you run into any questions or you have any further questions, please reach out to us at the IBC at our Consumer Information Center at 1-844-2-ASK-IBC.
Thank you so much, Rob, for that answer. We're going to go back to our online question box. This one's from Mark. He says, I have a demo permit number, but it isn't approved. Is this because I live in Beacon Hill? I'm going to send this one to Jamie Doyle, the Director of Planning and Development, please.
Thanks, Adam, and thanks for your question, Mark. Perhaps it is that we're still waiting to get to your permit in the actual queue. I would invite you either to come up to 309 Powder Drive and have a chat with someone. Subsequently, we can get some further information from you and look into your permit to see if there are any outstanding issues. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jamie, for the answer and Mark for the question. We're going to go back to the phones. Sherry, are you there?
I am. Hi. I live on Warren Road right across from the significant burn area of my neighbors, and our house is almost ready to move back in. They've done all the cleaning and all of the repo work that needed to be done downstairs. So my question is it reasonable to ask our insurance company to do a light clean and clean out the ducts and the furnace and whatnot after all of the debris has been taken away? Because I anticipate that there'll be a large amount of debris and whatnot, and I know that probably the answer is that it's going to be insurance dependent, but I just want to know if that's a reasonable ask.
Thank you so much, Sherry. We're going to go to Rob Dupree with IBC to take that one for us.
Hi, and thank you for the call. I encourage you to reach out to your insurance company and talk with your adjuster. The adjusters will be reasonable, and if you can explain the situation to them and explain your concerns and your specific circumstances, they will absolutely be working with you towards resolution on your file. As well, in relation to the debris removal, the local contractor will be taking measures to prevent any of the debris and actually wetting the debris while it's happening to prevent any dust or any debris that will be entering into neighboring properties.
Oh, good to know.
Well, thank you so much for that, Rob, for that answer. And Sherry, nice to hear your voice again and have you back with us. We're going to go back to our online portion. Sorry, actually back to the phone. My mistake. We're going to go to Jennifer, please. Jennifer, are you with us? Jennifer, are you there?
Yes.
Great to have you with us. Please go right ahead with your question.
I was just actually wondering if we were allowed to rebuild what we want on our property. I lost my home in Addison, and me and my husband were looking at rebuilding with a modular home. So I was talking with a girlfriend of mine. She lives in Addison, and she was told she was not allowed to build modular homes. Is there any regulations of what we're allowed to build?
Well, thank you so much, Jennifer. And this is a great question for our Director of Planning and Development, Mr. Jamie Doyle.
Again, thank you, Adam, and great question, Jennifer. There are regulations. They're found in our land use bylaw. You can go online at www.rmwb.ca/land use bylaw, or you can come see us at 309 Powder Drive, and we'll be happy to have a conversation with you regarding zoning on your property and what you can and can't do.
Well, thank you so much, Jamie, and we're going to go back to our online questions. We have quite a few this evening. This one is from Holly. Her question is, if I lived in a duplex, do I have to rebuild a duplex? My neighbor doesn't want to rebuild, and I don't know what to do. I'm going to send this one back to our Director of Planning and Development, Jamie Doyle, followed by the Wood Buffalo Recovery Committee, Councillor Sheldon Germain.
Thank you, Adam. Great question. The thing to remember is any rebuilds must meet the land use bylaw that's currently in place. And if you did have a duplex there, chances are you might have to rebuild a duplex. However, we're doing this on a case-by-case basis, so without knowing a lot of the details of your specific lot or situation, the best answer I can give you is that you have to meet the land use bylaw of the day. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Jamie. We're actually going to go to IBC next with Rob Dupree, who's going to take this next part of the question for us.
Yes, hi, and thank you for the call. This question has come up a few times. And in circumstances of a duplex rebuild, it's important for the insured and the property owners of the two sides to cooperate. The co-owners do have legal obligations, and those rights and responsibilities are set out in their title deed documents. This issue becomes more of an issue of property law, and the respective insurers will be funding the rebuild, and the lenders will be naturally engaged to be providing the co-owners will be fully cooperating in this matter.
Thank you so much, Rob, for the answer there, and a great question again from Holly. We're going to go back to the phones. Tanya, are you there with us?
Anya?
Sorry, Tanya. Sorry about that. Are you there?
Yes, I'm here. So
Go
my
right.
question is, there's quite a few residents in Abasand, and I'm sure Beacon Hill and Waterways, that still have standing homes and that would like to return to their homes as soon as possible. My question is, if we do get the okay to go back to our homes, would insurances be able to cut off ALE to other residents that want to hold off on going back until their repairs are all finished on their own homes?
Thank you, Tanya, and that's a great question. We know that's on the mind of a lot of our residents this week, and tonight we're going to go to Rob Dupree with IBC, please.
Hi, Tanya, and thank you for your question. You will need to be working with your adjuster to be reviewing the specific details that are within your insurance policy. We do understand that you want to get back in, and the additional living expense may be a section that is included in your policy. Many times the policies would be specifically outlining whether or not your house is habitable or safe for habitation. So in relation to how long will things be paid for in relation to the additional living expense, I encourage you to work with your adjuster, and please reach out to us at the IBC if you're having any challenges at our Consumer Information Center, 1-844-227-5422.
Well, thank you so much for that, Rob, and for the question earlier. This one is an online question. We're going to go back there. It's from Philip. He's asking, why is Specs raising their price after August 1st if the homeowner hasn't submitted all their forms? Can I change my mind from Specs to someone else? I don't know, Rob, if you caught that one. This one coming in from Philip. Why is Specs raising their price after August 1st if the homeowner hasn't submitted all their forms? So yeah, we'll send that to Rob Dupree with IBC, please.
Yes, and thank you for the call. The information that we've been provided in relation to the global coordinated insurer-led debris removal process is there's an economy of scale. When you have an area that's being worked on, you can bring in all the equipment to that particular area, and it's more cost-effective to be clearing one particular area at a time with all of the equipment that's there. I would like to remind everyone that the insured may have the repairs estimated and completed by a service provider of your choice. So if there is an option that you would like to explore outside of this program, I encourage you to speak with your insurance company and your adjuster to work through those details.
Well, thank you very much for that, Rob, and we're going to go back to our online portion. This question was from Brenda. I'm going to say that this one's going to go to the Wood Buffalo Recovery Committee. The question is, who are the 6 local committee members? So I don't know if we want Councillor Sheldon Germain or Councillor Al Vinnie would like to take that. So let's go to Councillor Vinnie, please.
Thanks, Adam. I hope I can remember them all. Met with them today. We have Marty Giles, Maggie Farrington, Mark Hodson, Kim Jenkins, Jeanette Bencars, and Kevin Fleury.
Thank you very much, Councillor Vinnie, and certainly, as we mentioned earlier, a diverse group of individuals that will bring a lot to our community and a lot to our committee as we move forward with REOC and then the Recovery Task Force. So thank you very much, Councillor. We are going to go back to the phones now. Lisa, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Please go right ahead with your question.
Okay, thank you for taking my call. I live in central Abasand as well, and I agree that my home is still just as safe as it was before the fire. I've been made aware that security has been allowing residents to go up to Abasand after hours, and have been told by the police officers at the security station that they legally cannot deny access to them if they want to go to their home. If this is the case, then why are we being told by the municipality that we are not allowed to re-enter? Is this just a deterrent, or do we legally have the right to return to our homes if we would like to?
Well, it's an excellent question, Lisa. Thank you very much. I'm going to go to Chris Graham, our Deputy Director of Emergency Management, please.
Yes, good evening. In terms of going into those restricted areas, we're basing limiting access on the medical officer of health's recommendations. So when it comes to actually removing someone, you are correct. Once the state of emergency came down, and once the state of local emergency comes down, those are the primary means by which we would take that action, but only if it was necessary.
Well, thank you so much, Chris, and thank you so much for the question. We've got about 15 minutes to go here in our fourth town hall this month. Remember to ask a question. Press *3 on your phone's keypad and give your question to one of our great operators. If you're joining us online, please type your question in the question field, rmwb.ca/townhall. We're going to go back online once again. This question is from Jackie. Has there been progress on temporary housing application to the province? So I guess we'll go to Aaron O'Neill in the REOC to take that one for us, please.
Thank you, Adam, for the question. We have been working with the Government of Alberta to determine what the supply and the demand is. We are working closely with Red Cross and are developing a survey to contact all our residents that have lost homes or have damaged homes, so we can understand your housing needs, so that we can make sure that our ask to the province is the correct one, and we can make sure that we have the supply for the residents and their needs.
And if I could, this is Mayor Melissa with just a bit of supplemental on that one. Last week, Council had approved a motion that would have the province look at advancing as many as 100 units as soon as possible with an anticipated need of 3 bedrooms and pet friendliness. So even though we don't have those final numbers figured out, we know that there's a need and it's pretty immediate. So we're certainly encouraging the province to send up anything they've got in the meantime, and hopefully we'll be able to refine that as we get a little closer to the folks that need them.
Well, thank you very much, Mayor Blake, and thank you, Aaron and Jackie, for the question. We're going to go back to the phones. David, are you there?
Yes.
How you doing?
All right.
Please go right ahead with your question, sir.
Thank you very much. I'm a local contractor in the municipality, and I am aware that some of the older early 80 and pre-80 homes have asbestos in either the tiling in the floors, the ceilings, drywall, mudding, that type of thing. I'm not sure who to direct the question to, whether it be REOC or the health department, but my question is, if there is any contractors qualified to remove the asbestos, and are they in the process of doing that prior to the demolition going on for cleanup, or is there nobody at this time? And if not, how does one and who does one go to offer their services?
David, that's an excellent question, and you mentioned that you don't know who to send the question to, but they're all here in the room and all with us. That's why we assembled the people here for you. So I'm actually going to send this one just for context to Paul McMahon with Alberta Environment Parks. I know Alberta Environment Parks is not responsible for the cleanup, but he will be able to provide background on the phase 2 testing results that were released last week vis-a-vis asbestos. And so maybe, Paul, you can take that aspect of it just for background, and then I'm going to send it to IBC and Rob Dupree, because they're heavily involved in the management and oversight of the cleanup.
Yeah, Paul here. So during the phase 1 sampling and testing, ash and samples for asbestos were taken from ash, as well as taken by those air samples on people that were actually testing the ash. And the regional municipality was particularly aware of where some of the older homes were in some of those neighborhoods, and so they specifically went into those areas seeing if they could detect asbestos, and no asbestos was found in any of the samples that were taken. So that's a good thing. So that's kind of where things sit from not testing every individual home, but testing the neighborhoods and some adjacent properties in those areas where asbestos was most likely to occur.
Well, thank you very much, Paul. We're going to send that now to IBC for the second part. Go right ahead.
And thank you, Paul, for the question. If you're talking about the overall debris removal, the local contractor and the project manager will be looking after environmental testing, and there is an environmental consulting firm involved in the global demolition project that will be doing testing for ash and debris for asbestos. If you're talking about the retrofit of your particular home, for a home that may be partially damaged, you'll have to talk with your specific insurance adjuster. Many insurance policies may not cover the specific asbestos removal, and it may be a specific endorsement that you'll have to check in with your adjuster to see if there is coverage. Regardless, you would be able to reach out to your insurance company to talk with who they may have, and I'm sure there's many local contractors that have expertise in this area as well.
Well, thank you very much for that, Rob, and thank you, David, for the question, also Paul, for providing that background on the environmental testing. We're going to go back online. We're going to go to Carolyn, and her question is, my home in Abasand had its water turned off. Will there be more info to help return my service? I'll go to Erin O'Neill, our Chief of Planning in the REOC, please.
Thank you for that question. We are working with our underground services team at this point to do flushing of the restricted areas of Abasand, Beacon Hill, and waterways, so that when you will be able to re-enter those areas, will either be close to the end of near their boil water advisory, or it will have already been lifted at that point. So we are working to get all infrastructure and services restored to those areas.
Well, thank you so much, Erin. We're going to look to take 3 more questions. We're about 8 minutes left in the call, so we've got 3 more remaining. If we can get them in, maybe 2, but we'll see how they go. We're going to go back to online. We have a lot of online questions tonight, a lot of participation, so it's really great to see. This question's from John. He says, are you going to bulldoze the standing homes, or what we sometimes call the green homes, in our restricted areas? So I guess I'll go back to the REOC. I'll go to Chris Graham, our Deputy Director of Emergency Management, please.
Yes, good evening. For the green homes, the assessments have already been done that those homes are actually still in a state at which they can be re-entered. Now, for some of the other homes that were next to the locations, they've been a placard has been placed appropriately, and in some cases, you will require, or it's recommended that you have a inspection done, and then you can take out whatever activity is necessary after that.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Chris, for that, and thank you, John, for the question. So we're going to go back to the phones if we can. Do we have Debbie? Is Debbie with us?
Good evening.
Good evening. Go right ahead.
I have a question. My home is still standing. I'm up in Stone Creek. I'm actually one of the 14 homes, the 7 duplexes that are left standing on at the very bottom there. Once the area is rebuilt, we're always going to have an issue in that area. Those were the homes that were left standing, and of course our value is going to depreciate or is reduced because of that. Is there anything generally in any of the insurance policies to cover that? It's, you know, a lot of us, and I know in my case, I've got almost everything I have invested in that home, and I'm standing to lose a lot of value just based on this fire.
Well, thank you so much for the question, Debbie. We know yourself and a lot of other people in our community are dealing with the exact same issue, and a lot of questions came in on that tonight. So thank you very much for providing that. We're going to let the Insurance Bureau of Canada take that. We'll send that to Bill Adams, who's with us. you still with us out there? Okay, we have another IBC representative here. We'll send that to Rob Dupree. Rob, you can take that, please.
Hi, and thank you very much for the question. Your insurance policy typically covers the direct damage to your actual home. So when you're talking about a loss in value due to your home, that's typically something that would be outside the scope of your insurance policy.
Well, thank you very much, Rob, for that. And that's our final question of the evening for our fourth telephone town hall hosted by the Regional Municipality of Wood Buffalo. Before we close out the call, I'd like to ask Mayor Melissa Blake to make some closing remarks.
Great. Well, thank you once again to the tremendous number of citizens who join us online. We hear from a handful of you, but we know many of you share similar questions, and we are glad to be able to answer the ones that we can. And for people who ask questions we might have missed on the response on, I know that Adam will be happy to tell you how else you might be able to get some questions answered. I want to thank our citizens for living our mantra of being safe, resilient, and together. And it's not easy for anyone, and we certainly recognize that, and the patience that we're asking everyone to have through this process I know can weigh heavily on folks, but I trust that these town halls will be something that will continue to bring value. And I know that my participation here in the evening, I get to hear responses from so many of our partners, and I want them to know how much we thank them for their ability to join us and respond to those. And to our municipal staff and the Recovery Committee, it is a great thing to have you working together in this room and in this venue and forum. And we hope that our citizens will continue to call in for our next one next week. Thank you, one and all.
Well, thank you very much, Mayor Blake, and once again, as you mentioned, to the thousands of you, between 5,000 and 10,000 residents every call. We're filling up Shell Place with these calls, which is wonderful. So thank you again for joining us this evening, and thank you for your questions. A full audio replay will be available soon at rmwb.ca/townhall. We do recognize that not everyone's question was answered tonight. We thank you for your understanding, as we do our best to answer similar questions that have submitted the most throughout the call. A reminder, if you are looking for assistance or information from the Red Cross, you can always call 1-888-350-6070 or visit their Fort McMurray office in the basement of the Hardin Street building, Monday to Friday, 9 to 6, and from Saturday, 9 to 5. If you are looking for environmental monitoring and testing results, including the results of Phase 2 testing, released last week. This information can be found on the Government of Alberta website at alberta.ca, right there on the homepage. We invite you to also visit rmwb.ca, call Pulse at 780-743-7000, or to interact with us on Facebook or Twitter to connect with the municipality, specifically the Wildfire Recovery tab on the front of the homepage, where you'll find many answers to a lot of the questions we all have as a community. The next telephone town hall is next Monday, July 25th at 7 p.m. Mountain Time. Have a good evening as we stay safe, resilient, together as a community. Thank you.